Welcome back to the online sessions on AEC. In the last session, we have completed the classification of oscillators. So in that classifications, we have classified oscillators based on various criterias. That is the waveforms generated by the oscillator, known as sinusoidal oscillators, relaxation oscillators, and square wave oscillators. Square wave is not written over here. So square wave oscillators, relaxation oscillators, sinusoidal oscillators are known as sinusoidal oscillator, can also be called as harmonic oscillators. Next is based on the fundamental mechanism of operation involved, whether the oscillator is designed based on the feedback operation or negative resistance type of the operations. So accordingly, we define them as going to be of negative resistance oscillators and positive resistance oscillators. And next, according to the frequency generated by the oscillator circuits, because oscillators are going to produce the AC signal. AC means what? It has to produce signal with certain frequency range. So based on the range of frequencies that has been produced by the oscillator, we simply classify them based on the if the frequencies is going to be from 0 to 20 kilohertz, it is going to be called as audio frequency oscillators. If the frequency range is between 20 kilohertz to 30 megahertz, it's going to be called as radio frequency oscillators. Very high frequency means it is going to be from 30 megahertz to 300 megahertz, very high frequency oscillators. The next one is ultra high frequency oscillators, going to range from 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz. Is called ultra high frequency oscillators because this VHF UHF range is normally used for TV communications. Microwave frequency oscillators are going to operate at a frequency of greater than 3 gigahertz. So 3 gigahertz to around 300 gigahertz is normally going to be the microwave frequency oscillators, right? So next is going to be like according to the type of the circuit used in the oscillator circuits. We may use RC circuits, and in that case we call it as RC phase shift oscillator or called as Weinberg oscillator. Weinberg we don't have in the syllabus, so we are discussing about RC phase shift oscillator. And next one is going to be LC tuned circuits. So these are the two types. Now what we do is we are going to discuss about these two types in detail because these two circuits we have as an oscillators in the syllabus, like LC tuned oscillator circuits and the RC phase shift oscillator circuits. In the case of LC tuned oscillator circuits, we are going to have varieties here known as Hartley oscillator, Colpitts oscillators. And coming to RC phase shift, we are going to have BJT version and FET version. So both of them are going to be same. There won't be much change in the derivative part of the oscillators is concerned, because oscillators derivation is basically dependent on the feedback network that we normally going to analyze. Now the feedback is going to be same whether we use a BJT or an FET transistors to construct an RC phase shift oscillator. So therefore it's going to be almost all same, more or less same. That means if you know derivation for either FET or BJT, you can do other one very easily. Okay. So therefore, no need to bother about those kind of things over there. Then problems we'll see later after we complete the entire theoretical part. We go with the problems. Now there are, let us discuss about advantage, disadvantage later on after we discuss about the LC oscillators. So first of all, we try to cope up with LC oscillators. Why? Because the derivation, once you know how to derive for the frequency of oscillations and for the gain equation, gain expression, we can derive the similar expressions for the all other types of LC oscillators known as Hartley oscillators and Colpitts oscillators. Okay. Now the principle of operation of LC is based on the tank circuit. If you connect L and C in parallel to each other, then that is simply called as a tank circuit configuration. So therefore, this LC oscillators works on the principle of the tank circuit. So the circuit using the elements L and C can be called as a tank circuit. An oscillator circuit known as basic principle of oscillator circuit is tank circuit, which is an important part in the case of the LC oscillators. This circuit can also be referred as a resonating circuit or a tuned circuit. because the input frequency can be tuned based on the tuning capacitors or tuning inductors. Usually we tune the capacitors. We consider instead of a capacitor as a tuned capacitor. So by tuning the value of, by changing the value of a capacitor, we'll be tuning the circuit to the input signal frequencies. Once this tuning is going to get matched, once the frequency set by the LC tank circuit becomes equal to the frequency of the input signal, then that frequency will be simply propagating into the device, into the device. That is what the basic concept called impedance matching. So once the impedance gets matched, then the signal is normally going to get transferred into the load. That is the basic concept we have. So therefore, in that concept, we can call this LC can be called as a resonating circuit or a tuned circuit. Resonating means what? At a particular value of tuning, the input signal will be simply been loaded into the circuit. That is called tuned kind of thing. That is called tuning basically. Say for example, in a radio, whenever you go to use a radio, we normally tune to a particular station. Now, why the appropriate signal is coming at a particular tuning frequency? Because there, what is happening? The circuit is getting resonated. So at resonance, the circuit is simply allowing all the signal to get into it. So that is what called resonating circuit or a tuned circuit we may call as. Okay. So these oscillators are used for high frequency range from 200 kilohertz to few gigahertz, and hence can be called as a RF energy sources. Can be called as a RF energy sources. So these sources are going to be RF energy sources at high frequencies, right? So now basic operation, that means the LC oscillators, how they are normally going to operate. It's very simple operation. So we connect L and C in parallel. So here before connection, L is not going to have any charge, any energy stored inside this. And a capacitor, after it is charged totally, it is normally going to get connected in the circuit. Now because this capacitor has got some stored voltage, and this capacitor is going to discharge through the inductor L. So while the capacitor is going to discharge the inductor L is going to charge. After inductor charges completely, then the inductor is normally going to discharge. Now this discharging of the discharging path for the inductor is going to be through capacitor, and the capacitor is going to charge. After capacitor charges, then the capacitor is going to discharge. Now what is the discharging path for the capacitor? It is going to be only across through the inductor L. That means the discharging path for inductor and capacitor is going to be the opposite elements of the tank circuit. So thereby what happens? The oscillations are normally going to get produced because of this variations in the rate of change of current flowing through these particular two elements of the circuit. So this is what an important concept, which is what the operation which is normally going to take place in the case of the LC tank circuits. Now we already know the energy stored in the inductor is normally in the form of magnetic energy. It stores in the form of magnetic energy. Inductor stores energy in the form of magnetic field, whereas capacitor is going to stores the energy in the form of the electric field. Now there is going to be interchange between electric field of energy to the magnetic field of energy, and magnetic field of energy to the electric field of energy. So in this process, what is going to happen? Charging and discharging takes place. Now what is so important is the polarity of the capacitor. We should really understand about the polarity of the capacitor. At the very beginning, what is that polarity? Initially, if this plate is upper plate is positive, lower plate is minus, then the capacitor is going to discharge because of this particular path through L. So once after while the capacitor is discharging, what is happening? This upper plate is going to become more negative, lower plate is going to become less negative. That means it will be becoming more positive. That means this plate is becoming more negative as the inductor is normally going to get charged. So as the capacitor discharges, inductor is normally going to charge. So after inductor charges completely, what will happen? After inductor charges completely, while inductor is charging, how the energy is normally going to flow through the inductor? The direction of magnetic flux lines are going to be There from north pole to the south pole. Like this, the magnetic flux lines will be simply moving. This is north pole, this is south pole, and magnetic lines of force will be like this. Electric field is flowing opposite to this. Okay. So after this, what happens? The capacitor, the inductor is now starts collapsing its field. It start decreasing its, the energy stored inside the inductor. So while the inductor is discharging, capacitor will starts charging. What is the polarity of the capacitor? Now this plate, while it is charging, becomes positive. This plate is normally going to become negative. So as this plate is becoming positive, this is negative, then after capacitor charges fully, then the capacitor is going to discharge in the opposite direction. So then here this plate is good, upper plate becomes more positive, lower plate becomes more negative. So like that, continuously the charging and discharging through the capacitor and inductor takes place. And this process is nothing but cycling is going to happen. Earlier, the upper plate was positive, so it is decreasing. That means the voltage is decreasing. After that, this is like this, then it is the current is flowing in the opposite direction. Therefore, the cycle is normally going to flow in the opposite direction. Thereby, we normally going to form a AC signal. So like that, we get AC signal passing through this. Okay. If the inductor or the capacitor is not pure, then the damping oscillations are going to get resulted. That means slowly the voltage, the maximum output current or a voltage flowing through the circuit is going to decay or is going to decrease. If the inductor and capacitor is going to have lossy, if they are not lossy, then 100% we are going to get the steady state sustained oscillations. So this is what the basic funda regarding transmission of signals through the inductor and a capacitor. Now another important point is you should remember this formula for frequency of oscillations through a LC circuit or LC oscillator circuit. Therefore, we can write the frequency of oscillations generated by LC tank circuit depends on the values of this L and C, which is governed by the formula F is equal to 1 by 2 pi under root LC Hedges. So this is the formula that you have to remember compulsorily for all the LC circuits. Whatever may be the type of the LC circuit it has to compulsorily have satisfy with this particular formula. Okay. So LC tank circuits is normally going to govern by this particular formula. This you should remember to start with. Now inductor units are going to be Henrys, capacitor units are going to be Farads. Now we should understand about the oscillator circuit now. Now oscillator circuit, in the oscillator circuit, the amplifier can be a BJT or it can be a FET, of course. Okay, we discuss here, we are not bothering about the type of the amplifier, whether it is BJT or FET. We just simply derive the generalized expression for the frequency of oscillations of a LC oscillator circuit. Okay, let us go for doing that particular activity now. So there was a question once asked in the university examination like this: condition of oscillations and frequency of oscillations of Hartley oscillator and explain its working. So that means the question is something like this. Let us go back to the question paper. So this is the question: obtain expressions for condition of oscillations and frequency of oscillations of a Hartley oscillator. Explain its working. This question has been asked for total 10 marks. So it is a long answer question. Okay. So it has been asked as a long answer question. If this is asked as a short answer question, condition of oscillations, frequency of oscillations, you should write the expressions, whatever we are going to get from this directly for 2 marks. 1 mark for condition of oscillations, another 1 mark for frequency of oscillations. That means here, what is the meaning of condition of oscillations? It has to satisfy Barkhausen criteria, that is mod A beta is equal to 1. So once you substitute mod A beta is equal to 1, you should get the expression for HFE. What should be the value of HFE? Okay, that is the current gain of the amplifier, DC current gain of the amplifier, how much it should be. That has to be pre-calculated. That is called condition of oscillations. If it is satisfied, then only A beta becomes equal to 1. That is called condition of oscillations. And frequency of oscillation means what? What is the frequency of the output signal generated by the oscillator circuit? That is what called a frequency of oscillations that we are talking about. So therefore, let us come to that particular solution. This derivation is very important because this derivation is normally going to, first of all, I am giving you a generalized equation for the LC oscillator circuit. Okay. Now, the general form of LC oscillators, how we can write? This is general form of LC oscillator circuits. Z1, Z2 and Z3 is going to come in the feedback path, where this Z1 and Z2 are going to be the same components among L and C. In the case of L and C, if Z1 is capacitor, Z2 should be capacitor. If Z1 is inductor, Z2 should be inductor. Or else, otherwise, if Z2 is inductor, Z1 should be inductor. If Z2 is capacitor, Z1 should be capacitor. And if Z1 and Z2 are going to be, if they are capacitors, compulsorily Z3 should be opposite to that, called inductor. So reverse of that, if Z1 and Z2 are going to be the inductors, then the Z3 should be capacitors. So like that, these feedback elements are normally going to get connected in the LC oscillator circuit especially. Let us suppose go with this now. An amplifier is going to have one input. Now we used to have an amplifier known as either BJT or FET. That is not the point of discussion here we are doing. Whether it is BJT or FET, both of them are going to have one input and both of them are going to have one output. And there is going to be a common terminal connected to the ground. Same thing we are doing here. So in between the ground and the input of the circuit, you're going to have the feedback element. In between the ground and output element, there's going to be a feedback element. Now across input and output, you're going to have one more element known as Z3. So this is what the basic circuit construction of a LC circuit. This has to be compulsorily remembered by you like this only. Now once you know, get into this, let us try to go with the equivalent circuit model of the oscillator circuit. Now we replace amplifier A by its equivalent approximate model. So what is the approximate model? The approximate model is going to be HIE. HRE VC is neglected because in the approximate model we don't use HRE VC because the value of that is going to be very, very small. So we neglect that. The next here is we use here HFE IB and 1 by HOE. So this is what the equivalent circuit which we have to draw compulsorily at the output side. Okay. Now why it is so HFE IB written as current source? In general, what is BJT? BJT is a current controlled current device. The output current IC, if you consider a CE amplifier, the output current IC depends on the input current IB, because IC is equal to beta times IB. That means the output current depends on the input current. Therefore, we call it as a current control device. So as it is a current control device, it is in general producing the current. So therefore, I replace output terminals by the current source. This 1 by HOE is taken as the internal resistance of this particular current source. So this is what the basic equivalent diagram for the amplifier circuit. Now, this is common terminal emitter connected to the ground, and Z1 replaced as it is Z1 here. Z2 is simply replaced over here as Z2 and Z3 as well. Now, what is the basic operation it should do? Now, usually we prefer only the CE amplifier. Why CE amplifier is preferred? The CE amplifier is preferred because it provides more power gain. The power gain of the CE amplifier is really very good in comparison to other two configurations. Therefore, we always prefer the CE amplifier in the oscillator circuits. So whenever we use CE, what is the thing we should remember in mind? The CE amplifier is always going to invert the input signal. That means it provides 180 degrees phase shift. The input of the amplifier, the output of the amplifier is going to provide 180 degrees phase shift, or I can say the amplifier is going to provide 180 degrees phase shift to the input. If you apply input at 0 degrees, we get output at 180 degrees. That is what the phase shift provided by the amplifier circuit. Right. So if this is providing 180 degrees phase shift, what is the Barkhasan criteria? Mod A beta is equal to 1 and the total loop gain should be equal to 360 degrees. So output signal is phase shifted by 180 degrees. In order to provide or get oscillations, we should compulsorily have 360 degrees. So another 180 is simply provided by this particular feedback network, or should be provided by the feedback network. So 180 plus 180 becomes equal to 360 degrees. Thereby we can say the total loop gain of this entire circuit is going to be simply 360 degrees. So this point is known as Barkhasan criteria, which we discussed in the previous class. So we have to compulsorily apply the Barkhasan criteria to get into the expressions for the condition of oscillations and the frequency of oscillations. Okay. Now, next part is going to be the direction of currents. Next part is going to be direction of currents. The emitter current is simply flowing from emitter to the ground. After that, from ground, the signal is coming like this and going like this, one part. Another part is coming into this particular network. Because what is the source of current? It is only the amplifier current. Whatever the amplifier current is there, that current is the source for the entire circuit. Because in oscillators, there is no input. Where is the input here? There is no externally applied input signal in the case of oscillators. So whatever noise that is there available, which is going to get picked up by the amplifier, because of amplifier action, that noise is simply going to get amplified. Okay, and because of feedback network, it is normally going to invert that signal to 180 degrees phase shift and apply to the input, and so on and so forth. Continuously, this will be in the loop. Thereby, the amplifier is normally going to give you a sufficiently large signal at the output. So, which is what in the form of AC for us. So that means without any applied AC signal, without any applied input AC signal, we are getting AC signal at the output. That is why, see here, I am showing you with small case letters. Small IB means AC current. Small IC means AC collector current. Small IB means AC base current. So like this, we are using the base current and the collector currents. Okay. Now direction of currents are going to be what now? The current is coming from emitter to the ground. From ground, it is going into the base IB like this. And from here, the current is going like this, and it is coming like this. Now this current which is coming here flowing through Z3, and it is going and dividing into two parts here. One is this current, whatever is current, this one current is, this current is coming like this. Another current is, these two will get added here, and they are flowing as IC current. IC is flowing like this, comes into emitter current to the ground, and from ground, all these directions are normally, current directions are normally going to get followed. So like this, we are going to have the various current directions in this particular part. So most importantly, what is this now? An amplifier provides 180 degrees phase shift, and feedback network forwards the phase by further 180 degrees phase shift, thus satisfying the 360 degrees phase shift as per the Barkhasan criteria. It satisfies Barkhasan criteria by incorporating such mechanism here. So in the above figure, input is considered between, this is important. What are the input terminals? The input terminals are going to be 1 and 3 are the input terminals. 3 is anyway common, ground. 1 is the input terminal, 2 is the output terminal. So what are the output? What are the two output terminals? 2 and 3. Input terminals 1 and 3. So that is important. So therefore, the input terminals considered to be between 1 and 2. Output is considered between 2 and 3 terminals. We know oscillator satisfies Barkhasan criteria to produce sustained oscillations. Because of that, we'll use a condition A beta is equal to -1. See here, continuously I'm using Barkhasan criteria only. I'm satisfying 360 degrees, total loop gain is equal to 360 degrees satisfied. Then product of gain of the amplifier with feedback network should be equal to 1. Mod A beta should be equal to 1. That is the condition. So therefore, here we get here A beta is equal to minus 1. Why so? Because A is going to give us minus sign here at the output. So therefore, minus A into beta is equal to minus 1. So I can write this as AB beta is equal to minus 1, or mod A beta is equal to 1. So this is known as, once again, Barkhasan criteria under consideration. Now here, we start with the voltage gain of an amplifier. We know this formula from the first unit. The voltage gain of an amplifier AB is equal to minus HFE by HIE into ZL. And what is beta? Beta is nothing but is equal to VF by V naught. That means here, this is taken as what type of amplifier? Voltage series feedback type of amplifier. That means voltage series feedback type of connection is normally employed in this. Voltage series feedback connection is employed. So therefore, the gain of the amplifier is going to be treated as a voltage gain, minus HFE by HIE into ZL. So this is what the gain equation. Now what is VF? VF is nothing but feedback signal or a voltage, which is the output of the feedback network and input to the amplifier. That means this feedback is applied to the input between terminals 1 and 3. And V0 is the output voltage of the amplifier circuit. Now, last part is, we try to go with this basic relationship now. We'll try to solve this entire equation next session now. First of all, let us go with the procedure, what we are normally going to undergo here. So because we have beta, we should know beta value and we should know the value of A, so that we can have AV into beta form and we can substitute is equal to minus 1 and we solve this. Okay. To get into the overall equation, we have to solve this, right? So that is why we go ahead by doing that. So here in doing so, what is so important is the circuit connection is very much important for us. How it is really connected is really a matter for us. So what is the general flow of expressions that we have to bother about first? That means you should understand about the combinations. Now we know beta is equal to VF by V naught. So we should find out VF. VF is equal to, VF is the output voltage of the beta network. V naught is the input voltage of the beta network. That means V naught is the source for the beta network. So VF is equal to total voltage into resistance across where we are finding the voltage. Now what is that we are giving it to the amplifier? It is the voltage between 1 and 2. Voltage between 1 and 2 is nothing but input to the amplifier circuit. So that is the input of the amplifier circuit. Now if you see this 1 and 2, how is Z1 and HIE? Let us see. The current which is coming like this is dividing into base current and this current. That means two different currents are flowing through Z1 and HIE. Therefore, these two are in parallel. These two are in parallel. That means Z1 in parallel with HIE. Once this combination has come, these two networks will come in series to Z3 plus Z3. So that is what the voltage V naught. So across we are going to apply this output of the feedback is applied to the input of the amplifier. Input of the amplifier is going to be between this and this terminal. So across this we are going to apply divided by the total resistance. What is total resistance involved? Between this one and this 3, this is ground, because up to here it is totally involved. Therefore, we have to involve Z1 plus HIE plus Z3. See, this is what important point for us to understand here. So Z1 in parallel with ZIE, these two will come in series to this. Now this entire things are going to become the total resistance, which are connected at the input side. Total resistance, which is considered to be present at the input side of the amplifier circuit, is going to be these 3 elements. Therefore, those elements you have to include here. So that means VF is equal to V naught into resistance across where we are finding the voltage, known as input terminals of the, across the input terminals of the amplifier by total resistance. What is total resistance? What are all the resistances which are connected to the input terminal? That is Z1. All of them you have to really consider. So therefore, one more is there called Z3. Z3 is obviously going to come as like a series combination. So therefore, I can write equation like this. These two are in parallel, series combination. Then we have to solve for this. We going to get a value for beta. We're going to get a value for beta here. Now we have a formula called AV is equal to minus HFE by HIE into ZL. So you have to compute the value for ZL here first. So how we compute the value for ZL? ZL has to be computed once again by using the same thing over there. ZL is the load resistance. Now load means what? Where we take the load? Across output terminals. That means this entire thing Z1 in parallel to HIE plus Z3, this entire thing will come in parallel to Z2. So that has to be there at the output side of the terminals. So we simply use all of that for ZL, which is going to be the equivalent effective load resistance. See here Z1 in parallel to HIE plus Z3, this entire thing is coming in parallel to Z2. Now you have to solve this entire equation to get ZL. So once you get ZL, we got ZL, we know beta. So AV beta is equal to minus 1. AV is nothing but minus HFE by HIE into ZL into beta. So beta network is into beta is equal to 1. So in AV I have ZL. So ZL means what? This ZL I'll substitute here. Then I have to simply calculate. So like this, we proceed further towards getting into the expression for the condition of oscillations. So in the next section, we will go for deriving the expression for condition of oscillations. So here in this session, what we have completed, we have just repeated the concepts of the classification of oscillators. And in that, based on the circuit elements, we consider them as LC or RC oscillators. We are going with LC oscillators now. So this circuit we have understood, circuit connections we understood, direction of current we understood, and based on that direction of currents, we have just simply computed equivalent circuit resistance to the input and output terminals. Accordingly, we have just simply get into the expressions for the feedback voltage, beta value, and the load resistance. Okay, so we'll continue further in the next session about deriving the expressions for condition of oscillations and frequency of oscillations. Thank you very much for today's session. So you should go through this circuit, very important. Circuit is, that means if you don't know this particular circuit, equivalent circuit that what I have drawn just now, it's very difficult to really come to the derivative part. So therefore, as I tell you already that the derivations are really pretty much important for us, right? So derivations are very much important for us. Therefore, you should know how to derive the expressions. So the care what I am taking, why I am taking is only to show you the derivative part, because derivative part is the most toughest part for us to really go with. Okay.